Hello everyone, this video will be about Saturn changing sign this month in May, and it's huge in astrology and it will influence our life also in a very huge way. Now, a lot of people are like scared of Saturn, and Saturn represents like period of life when we have some sort of troubles or challenges. But let me tell you this thing: Saturn, I call this planet as a strict teacher. And the lessons that Saturn give, usually the ways it gives, of course, it's not pleasant one, but we usually remember for a long time. And also the results we are the proudest, the results that we are happy about, and that we can say that this is the result of my hard work, and this is what I achieved. That's why Saturn lessons are always valuable, let's say. And it's not a bad planet. It's not a, let's say, no need to be scared. Saturn is the significator, actually a planet of fear, but it teaches exactly how to overcome that fear, how to challenge yourself and be in a challenge situation and keep calm, let's say, be cool in how to handle that situation in that matter of seconds or minutes. So Saturn teaches us how to overcome your fear and how to, be fearless, not to be scared of anything. So this is actually what Saturn wants you to learn. Now, Saturn is changing signs on 25th of May, but this year in 2025, this will be sort of like a short movie. Saturn will give you hints in like whole summer, because Saturn will change sign. It goes to Aries now, and it will stay in Aries until 1st September. And then it will move backwards again into Pisces, where it spent for the last 3 years, to wrap up some things, to give gifts, because Saturn is also like a planet of gifts, like Jupiter, but it usually doesn't give it so easily. We need to put hard work and efforts, and if we done great job, then it loves to leave a present when it's saying goodbye, meaning changing signs. So Saturn on 1st of September moved back into Pisces, will move back, but then next year on Valentine's Day, 2026, 14th of February, it goes back into Aries. I mean, already permanently for 3 years until April 2028. So this year, 2025, we get to see, Saturn in Aries from 25th of May until 1st September, almost whole summer, not almost, but whole summer plus few days. And Saturn, it will, because it's a heavy and slow moving planet, and it's a karmic planet, a planet of karma. This kind of planets, when they change signs, they are the strongest. Like, we feel their influence. We feel the whole vibration shift. We feel, and we already get the messages, like depending which house in your natal chart Aries represents. In that part of your life, you already will be getting some sort of huge changes going on, because Saturn is strongest when it's crossing the signs from one sign to another. So it will do few times this year. First time 25th of May, then in 1st September. Now you will get to see like a lot of things going on around those dates. But whole this summer, it will be sort of completely different vibration, completely different topics. I'm actually happy that Saturn is moving out from Pisces, because Pisces is a water sign, and Saturn is not actually comfortable at all in that sign, and it's hard to navigate, hard to grasp, but Saturn is all about blocks and buildings and concrete thing, and Saturn rules concrete, by the way, material. But Pisces are like so dreamy, so elusive, like so it's like digging inside of yourself. So like whole world, for me, it seemed like for the past 3 years we were just let's say mildly procrastinating. Like more in a subconscious world. We were more with ourselves, like Like it seems like all the planets and plus this Uranus in Taurus and Saturn in um, Pisces, you know, they all send us to this sort of introspective kind of motion for the last 3 years. But now, when all these planets are moving out to more faster, more action-oriented signs like Aries, it will be more now. We will see more initiations, more actions happening, more things happening. You know, not just like sitting and I don't know daydreaming some things, for example. Now, you know, let's talk about, you know, Saturn in Aries. Last time it was like 30 years ago. Saturn, as I said, slow moving planet, and it takes 30, like 29, 30 years to make whole circle around the sun through whole this zodiac. And last time it was there 30 years ago. So this will be pretty much for your new energy. Now, what is Saturn? Saturn is about discipline, is about restriction by ourselves or by circumstances, hard work and effort. And also it's about responsibilities. Wherever the Saturn is coming, like which part of your life is it coming, like Aries represented part of your life, that part of your life, you will have to take some responsibilities there. Some wake-up call is happening. Saturn is a sobering planet. I love to say this. It's all of a sudden you're like waking up there. All the pink glasses are going away. Limitations, again, imposed by ourselves or by some sort of circumstances, by external things happening or by someone else. And Saturn represents everything old, you know, everything which is like from the past. And here the most important message, not to try to hold on to those old and past things, you know, because Saturn is about reconstruction. It's sort of about the structure. So, you know, wherever Saturn is coming, it tends to destroy those things that are shaky, that has very weak basis, like this groundwork. If there is, like, for example, if it's relationship, then if there was some problem there, you know, Saturn will destroy that relationship. But those relationships that are strong, you know, not all the relationships will get destroyed. For example, those are relationships that are built on a strong basis, like on a concrete, let's say, because Saturn rules concrete, as I said, some strong like bond, then it will make it even more stronger, more flourishing. But those are that are already, you know, running weak, they will not last long, my dears, you know, when Saturn moves into Aries. Now, whatever Saturn is making there, cooking up there, it always takes time because Saturn is a planet of time. Everything is slow, but the rewards are always the ones that we are the proudest and the ones that we proudly say that I built it, I created it, I worked on it, this kind of things. Now, in Aries, what Aries symbolizes? Now, Aries is about fight. It's about to drive, to initiate, courage, no fear. Amazing, right? It's Saturn is a planet of fear, and Aries is a sign of no fear. It's about leadership. It's about pioneering something. So we would expect quite a lot of things from Saturn in Aries. But again, Saturn in Aries, you know, this sign for Saturn is a sign of falling, meaning, again, not so much of a comfortable sign to be in for Saturn, because Saturn loves, you know, a steady progress, loves step by step, slow, with the small steps, but every day some sort of achievement. But Aries loves, you know, action. Aries loves quick results. Aries loves, let's say, it wants to jump start. It wants like no due thinking, let's say, or thinking later about the consequences. So, you know, these are energies a bit not compatible, but Saturn will be navigating Aries, but still will give us sort of initiative energy, but with quite a lot of precision, quite a lot of calculations. That's what Saturn will require. Even if you're going to start something, always try to research more deeply and take time before you start anything. Now, what else? And here, you know, if we look at what was historically happening with this Saturn in Aries, last time Saturn in Aries, it was from 1996 until 1998. So 1996 April, 1998 June. You might also recall, if you at that age what was happening in your life 30 years ago. Now, historically, on the worldwide, like we were seeing that Australia, for example, and UK, they were banning this possession of private possession of guns after some tragic events were happening in those countries. Those years, Australia did that in 1996, UK did that in 1997. So, Aries represented with like these guns, and I mean, it's not represented guns, but I mean, it's about fight, it's about also firearms, it's about sort of drive. And Saturn is about limitation, it's about restriction. Whatever it touches, it makes it smaller, it makes it limited. So that's why, it was real like action, Saturn in Aries action, real life, banning guns, for example. Interestingly, that the ruler of Aries, Mars, was, how to say, landed. The Pathfinder was landed on Mars in 1997. Seems like we reached, this Mars planet, and Saturn gave us this ground, and patience after so many trials to finally reach Mars. Now, I would also like to talk a little bit about transits, like in natal chart, how Saturn goes in natal chart. I would like to mention here important transits. Now, in natal chart, it's the same way, sort of rebuilding, restructuring. Saturn rules all fear, as I said, so don't hold on those past things out of fear or out of, I don't know, you're afraid of something. It will teach you anyhow to overcome your fear. Now, one of the important transits is if Saturn transiting your first house or your ascendant. Now, it means like if you have Aries ascendant or first house Aries. Now, this is like complete change of life, like burning the bridges, I like to say. Like you will never be the same person after this Saturn transit in your first house, or like sort of rebuilding self, your self-image, you as a person, your plans for the future. First house is about that. And even how people might call you, or even you might change your name and surname. First house is when whatever planet is touched by touched our first house, it automatically might manifest in all our 12 houses. Like it could be any part of your life, but the point is here that you completely changing as a person and renewing, rebuilding yourself. There won't be any possibility to go back to your previous life, or maybe to go back to previous house that you've been living or work that you've been working on. Let's say all these things. Another transit, if it's a moon. Now this transit is also very important if you have moon in Aries, and Saturn will be at some point in next 3 years transiting over your moon. Now this is considered a bit of a difficult time in astrology, emotionally, psychologically, mentally is difficult. Now in Vedic astrology, Indian astrology, this time is called Sati Sati. When Saturn is touching your moon, natal moon. Now it's about changes. Now moon is about our subconscious mind and how fast we can adapt. Like it's about our reactions. So when Saturn transits over your moon, if that's your case, it might be the time when it's harder to adapt to some things than usual, like than you used to be, for example, to some situations. For example, you've got a baby and it's harder to, let's say, adapt to be a parent, or your time, like new lifestyle, let's say. Or maybe you moved somewhere and you don't know anywhere there and everything is new to you, and it's much harder to incorporate all these things into your new self, let's say. Or maybe like you're changing job and there you don't like your colleagues or something. Like it's much difficult sort of to see the light. And usually it's emotional, a bit of a roller coaster when Saturn transits moon. Now, here advice is just try to go with the flow. Try to blend in, give yourself plenty of time. Now, me personally, I'm just coming out from, Saturn over my moon, because my moon is in Pisces. So I can tell you it was an emotional roller coaster, but it's more felt, internally. like it's more work with yourself. And it's true that, I'm usually very adaptable person for any like circumstances, situations, and places and people. But last 3 years, or last year, it was really, really hard for me. Now, another transit which will be important for you, if it's Saturn coming back to the place where it was during when you were born, meaning first Saturn return or second Saturn return. Now, we get only 2 or 3, Saturn in Aries in our life, like in any sign actually, because Saturn's, as I said, cycle is very long. It's 30 years. It takes 30 years to come back. So, if this is your Saturn return year, meaning like either you're 29 to 30 or between like 80, 58 and 59 years old. Now, we call this period Saturn return period. And it's also one of the fruitful ones. And not let's say necessarily difficult, but it can be difficult, especially the first Saturn return. If you are around age 29, 30, it's sort of like a wake up call, grow up call. So we are suddenly growing up around this time, and we suddenly have this serious vision on our life, what we achieved and where we are headed. If before it was more like careless, carefree sort of life, but when Saturn comes back to the place, it's sort of sobering us up, sort of cold water sort of over us. And you instantly awake, you instantly realize actually what you need to do or what you want to do, or if you are ready for, I don't know, becoming parents or getting married, all these things. But the second Saturn return, usually, which is happening around 58, 59 years old, it's more about re-evaluation. What I achieved, like life passed, and what have I done, let's say. How I spent my life. This kind of thoughts might be circulating when Saturn returns second time to the place where it was when you were born. And sort of you might go through reevaluation of everything. Like it seems to us that life passed now, and what we've done so far, how we spend our life, how we lived our life out. This kind of topics might be coming as well when Saturn returns. Now, about the transits, I already talked, and what does it mean also? In general, Saturn stays in one sign 3 years, like 2.5 and 3 years. So that's where we feel the most like restructuring, that part of your life. So check in your natal chart where Aries is, which house is Aries representing. So that part of your life will be very, very under your focus. We direct our focus. Like Saturn is about focus. So it's like you are putting a lot of your focus, your energy, your intention into that part of your life in the next 3 years, beginning this summer, my dears. Always remember, check your rising sign first, and then sun sign and moon sign. Now, those will be very important, especially if you have moon there in Aries. Check your moon sign too. And all of them will play out, let me tell you, because I checked in my historical things. All my 3 signs, big 3, were playing out each time. Now, let's go sign by sign. So let's start with Aries. Now, Aries, my dears, this will be your first house. And as I said, this is one of the important, if this is your first house or natal chart, a natal ascendant place, meaning you will destroy self, sort of renew self, because Saturn is about sort of concentrated experience and learning. Like it's aging. You're becoming more wise, more aware of yourself. You might completely destroy some parts of yourself, like let's say some patterns of behavior, or you might wake up that you don't want to live this way anymore. And you might have completely different plans afterwards. In the next 3 years, your plans will be reshaped by Saturn, like priorities. Saturn will make you choose the most valuable things in your life. It will make you focus on those things that are really and truly important, and to focus on your wishes, and to get to refine those wishes, like You know, are those wishes are imposed by someone else, like by parents or by your family or by society, or are those true your wishes that are coming from your heart? So those things will be important for you. Also, first house is about how we look, is our appearance, like hairstyle, body weight. Now Saturn is amazing here to work with. Saturn, if you want to lose weight, let's say, have a discipline in your life in terms of your weight, let's say, control. Now Saturn will help you to work, but it won't be instant results. Let me tell you, with Saturn is about hard work. It's not a joke planet, and it dislikes quick results. No need to, let's say, don't hope for, like, some pills, like especially like lose weight or gain weight sort of pills. No, you will need to put up some hard work there, let's say some dieting or restricting something like sugar especially, or even if you vice versa trying to gain weight, like let's say going to gym and growing muscles, all these things, it will require specific actions that are repetitive. Saturn is about those kind of things, repetitions, like that you go weekly or daily, do something, or about your eating habits. So all these things will need effort so that you will get the result, and it will take time, but you will get that result and it will stay with you for a long time if you're gonna embark on that journey in terms of your appearance. Now Saturn also in the first house, it might be about it might give you, you might start embodying Saturn, like as someone who is very serious, and it could be a sharp sort of change of personality, especially if you've been more like a sort of a bubbly, let's say, more funny and more easygoing person. But with Saturn in your first house, you might start thinking about serious things and even exhibiting this sort of behavior as a Saturn, like more calculative, let's say, decisions, and very serious person, and actually sort of like a wise person. You might become wiser as Saturn represents this kind of teacher kind of stuff. And first house is also how other people treat me and how I treat myself too. Now here Saturn might give you quite good lessons as well, my dear Aries, like in terms of how you treat yourself, and it might be sort of mirror what kind of people will be entering your life and how those people treating you, that mean how you allow to treat. And Saturn will teach you here boundaries, will teach you about the boundaries, how to have boundaries, and in general what to allow to people, like let's say express, and that's exactly what you allowing yourself, let's say, to express. Also, and your wishes and plans, and it seems like your focus will be on something particular. Like first house, it's about plans and priorities, but Saturn is not about like going big and going like expansive. It's about small things, it's about limiting things. So like focus is getting more narrow, like on something specific. It doesn't matter, it might be work or in your health or in your relationship, but it seems like your plans in general and priorities are getting more smaller. Like you are focusing on a more, like let's say, microscopic level kind of. Now I'd like to add that you might want to listen to Taurus next sign, as a reference to what was happening in your life for the last 3 years while Saturn was transiting in Pisces, meaning in your 12th house. Now those things will be happening, let's say, in Taurus's life, so you might want to listen that too. Now, my dear Tauruses, for you guys, it will be 12th house. Now, there is Neptune already in your 12th house, and Saturn is also coming into your 12th house. Now, 12th house is all about privacy. It's about private place in our chart, more hidden, and it could be, related. Saturn is already like making things smaller, making things more, let's say, structured. And 12th house is exactly being more private, more into yourself, more structuring. So you might embark on the next 3 years on a more mental, more subconscious journey. sort of be with yourself and to remold yourself. 12th house is the last house. It's exactly the house where we pile up everything, like all the sort of stuff, like, and the things that we need and the things that we don't need. And you might start going to some therapy, for example, to unload yourself, no matter even like in a material way, like a materialistic way, or in a spiritual way or mental way. You might want this unloading. You've been, for example, for the past, I don't know, 30 years piling up all the emotions, all the things and reactions, and even like suppressing it, let's say. And it was actually accumulated by your 12th house. And now you want to unload your bag. So you might start going to some therapy, for example, or you might meet some sort of a teacher or someone who you admire, let's say, and you will follow in terms of spiritual growth. You might start visiting those power places. I don't know, maybe Egyptian pyramids or Stonehenge. I don't know, maybe Tibet. You might travel to those kind of places where there is different energy, healing energy. And in general, 12th house is about our health also, no matter like mental health or physical health, especially like hospital. Like it's a secluded. Saturn is about limiting things. It's making smaller, and 12 houses, those places that we can be stuck, like which are with limited sort of entrances and exits. So it can be about like hospitals as well. You might want to, I don't know, go for some retreat. Not necessarily something serious, but in some Taurus's life, it might be about some serious like journey, some serious fight with some disease. But most of you guys, I believe it will be sort of a retreat kind of things, like visiting to some islands that you long wanted to visit. In general, Saturn in 12th house, it's about finally dealing with things that you've been postponing. Saturn is no joke, and it will make you to focus on those things that you've been all the time pushing away. And also it's a past, house of past. Now Saturn here will make you deal with your past, maybe with past wounds or some relationships in general, to excavate those things and digging the truth, let's say. Like I don't know, maybe you will literally go to some archaeological excavations or archival work, some sort of information. And 12th house is also about underground resources like minerals, stones, and mines. And Saturn rules this concrete thing, so it might be that you will start a business in this area, for example, like building something, painting something, mining something, or maybe working with concrete, like doing some, I don't know, statues out of concrete, whatever is that. It could be related to that as well. And 12th house is like working long hours by yourself in solitude, and Saturn might send you into such a sort of work as well, some sort of project. But keep in mind that it will take most probably all 3 years. There might need be like sort of some reworking, some edits needs to be done. So it might take up 3 years with Saturn there if you're working on some project to present to the whole world and in solitude. You might start studying, for example, or you might completely relocate somewhere, because 12th house is about far lands. So you might, let's say, buy a house somewhere and relocate there, because Saturn naturally rules your 9th house in your natal chart. So you might like move somewhere completely very far and start studying or maybe living there, let's say. And also 12th house is about releasing something. Now, addiction, traumas, it's amazing time if you want to work on that. It's a great time to work on your addictions. Let's say if you want to, I don't know, quit smoking or quit drinking or something like that, dropping from your life. Now Saturn will help you. All you need to do is to work hard. Saturn requires that, my dear Tauruses. Now, next Geminis, my dear Geminis, for you guys, it will be your 11th house. Now, 11th house is all about our friendships. Now, Saturn is coming and checking up on your friendship groups. A lot of friendships will get destroyed. A lot of friendships will be formed and even deepened. The bond will be deeper and stronger. Now, those people who already played out their let's say roles in your life, they will go. Now Saturn, as I said, it destroys those things that are on a shaky ground. So if there was already a friction between you and your friend, that friendship will go from your life. And those that are strong bonds, it will make it even more stronger and even more prosperous. Let's say some friends are meant to stay in your life forever. And even if you meet someone in the next 3 years, those relationships most likely will be for a long time, for like upcoming more like 30 years, let's say, you're going to build. Now, 11th house is also a house, your this friendship circle completely changing for one or another reason. Like, for example, I don't know, maybe you are moving somewhere, or maybe let's say you buying a house somewhere, and that's why now you get some new social circle which will be helping you out to do that, let's say, or establishing your presence somewhere else. 11th house is also a house of your wishes and dreams. Now, Saturn rules your 8th house, and the 8th house is about money. So it seems like Saturn will inject into your future and dreams and steps that you're taking towards your brightest vision of your future, investments, actually, or collaboration. You would want to have sort of money to be invested, that they start working on you. You might start taking up some courses or some concrete steps towards that, like educating yourself financially, how to invest, for example, how to be prosperous. Or you might start taking a loan for your dream. For example, your dream is, I don't know, open a hotel business, and you might start in next whole 3 years. It will take you to learn all the edges, all the facets, all the things related to hotel business. It won't be easy, just so you know. It doesn't matter which type of business or what is your dream. I don't know, being an actor maybe. But so you know that with Saturn there, it might take all those 3 years to establish, like truly establish, to finally understand, to go through all the, let's say, all the rainbows and not rainbows, all those things, through all the hell, let's say. But at the end, you will become professional, and you will know how to deal with that business. So, how to, to build your future. 11th house is also a house of social media, popularity, internet, and in general, it's about expansion. But Saturn is vice versa. It's about limitation. It's about making everything smaller. So it seems like your wishes and dreams, even, here, most important thing, to dream big, not to make it even more smaller. Even though Saturn will be inclining, let's say, to make it more, not like dreaming small, but then, how to say, starting from small steps. This is what Saturn will teach you to achieve that your biggest goal. So always have that vision, dream big, my dear Geminis. But just so you know that with Saturn there, you will make all those thousands and millions steps, small steps towards your biggest goals. So this is what Saturn will teach you. Now, third house is also a house of harvesting results for the past 30 years of your accomplishments, let's say. So some of you guys might receive some nominations, some prizes, some recognition. You're finally like summing up, sort of reaching the fruition of what you've done past 30 years, sorry. And for some of you, it might be quite, let's say, vice versa result, especially if you've played a wrong game. I mean, if you've been cheating, let's say, or if you've been lying, then here Saturn will give you harsh lessons by, I don't know, stripping away your reputation, or maybe losing your position, high social status. All these things might might happen depending on your natal chart and what you've been doing for the past 30 years. Also, 11th house is about second kids and third kids, our children. So some of you guys might get second or third child, like as a responsibility, because Saturn is about responsibility. You might take up some responsibility here. And it's about our son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws. It might be that your kids might get married and you will have in your life now son-in-law or daughter-in-law, for example. And also, if that is your situation, it's about third marriages. Saturn here might, if you are dating, might give you this sort of third marriage situation, either to make it or break it, kind of yes or no kind of thing. Now, and also I'd like to say here, you might want to listen what I'm going to say for Cancers, because that was happening for you guys for the last 3 years. If you are relating, so you might want to listen that. Now, my dear lovely Cancers, for you guys, it will be 10th house. Now, 10th house is the highest part of your chart where we are visible. Now, 10th house, here is most important thing and rule: don't lie. Don't betray next 3 years. And in general in life, right? Not only next 3 years, but for the next 3 years, it will be extra important and very sensitive part. Don't lie and don't betray and don't, let's say, go easy ways and try to manipulate. All these things will come out, and Saturn is a very harsh teacher. It's a judge. Saturn is the law. So it's a judge who is judging us, and meaning, who's ruling over what to give you as what you deserve, actually. So you might, if you do so, like if you go all the bad ways, then you might pay by your reputation, by your position. Saturn is about ethics as well. So, you might pay by those things. So if you are already occupying this high position, it's better that you done good things, for the past 30 years. It might be happening, both ways. For some Cancers, it might be acquiring these big places, like big positions, like CEO, big reputation, also working hours. So remember, if you are taking up a new job, which is gifting you reputation and a high social status and position, and of course money, but it also will come with a long work hours and hard work, because Saturn is about that. It takes time. It's a planet of time and hard work. That position won't be easy. But if you're already in this kind of position, so for some of you guys, it might be falling down, or for some of you guys, it might be actually ascending even more, like career ladder, because 10th house is about career. It's about also, in general, our calling in life. Like what would you like to do? Some of you guys, it might be a wake-up call. Like whole life you've been, let's say, a doctor, I don't know, maybe surgeon, that you devoted your life to, like career years. But when Saturn moves there, you all of a sudden sort of waking up and understanding, let's say sobering up, and sort of find yourself in a place where you don't want to be anymore this surgeon or doctor, or like don't want to do those things anymore, and somehow you will all of a sudden start pursuing something different. But that different will take time and will take effort, sort of from ground zero. So, if it was already shaky, for example, if you never liked it, some situations like you've been doing it because of your family, or I don't know, because your mom wants you to be doctor or lawyer or teacher, whatever is that, or because your father wanted, or because of other people wanted, and you never wanted this thing. Now this is what I call shaky ground, right? So shaky bases. So it's already friction there. So Saturn comes in and destroys that. So it will free you, actually. So there will be ground zero. So you will start building what you wanted, truly. So this will be sort of wake up call. Now Saturn's methods are mostly harsh, but then we always remember it, as I said, and it always brings some good results. Hard work pays off, my dear Cancers. Exactly this saying will be with you for the next 3 years with this Saturn in your 10th house and high position. If you work hard, you will get there. Now, a lot of cancers might also change jobs. Like you might change job, your career, as I said. And if that is happening, for example, don't be sad, don't be depressed, because something new is coming, something better and brighter. Planets, they work in a way, and in general astrology, like you need to make space to other things to coming into your life. We cannot hold both things. So these planets, they usually operate in a way that they first need to clean up the space. At times it's painful and it's not pleasant, but afterwards, when those new things will come, everything will fall to their own places, and you will see the more bigger picture and strategy, which you will be happy about, my dear cancers. Saturn is also focus, as I said. Saturn makes us concentrated on something. Like it's our focus goes directed. So you might, for the next 3 years, might be extra focused, even like overly focused on your work, on your social status, or maybe for some of you guys it's a marriage or your reputation. Like you might be so concentrated on this topic, you will be paying a lot of effort and energy, like sending a lot of energy to that part of your life. So better, for example, at work now, Saturn is not about expansion, as I said. So if you are, for example, business owner and you're focused on your work and you want to see it growing bigger, next 3 years is not a good time to make it bigger, actually. It's a good time to make it solid, let me tell you. It's like to focus on something specific and to narrow it down. Like it's better to focus on one store that you have rather than opening up second and third, then like go bankrupt because you couldn't handle it or because of some problems. And it's not a good time when Saturn is in your 10th house to expand things. It's better to focus and put your effort there to excel in something specific. For example, to make it flourish your, I don't know, this one store as an example. And it relates to any area, professional area. Just you need to translate it in your case. And everything will take time. Saturn is a planet of time, as I said. It's about big responsibilities. And either it's maybe because of work or maybe study. It could be the situation that you end working and studying and you don't have time. Your all energy, your focus goes to that part of your life. And it could be that way, like quite big responsibility you're taking on your shoulder. Now, 10th house, as I said, it's about social status. A lot of you guys might become parents, like taking up another social status, or if it relates to marriage, because Saturn rules your marriage house in your natal chart, a lot of cancers might get divorced and also might get married. Both ways, depending on your situation, depending on the that material that your relationship is built upon. If it's a concrete material, like a very stable, healthy relationship, no frictions, then Saturn will make it or break it thing. Sort of, you might take it to the next level in this case and get married, as an example, or get moved in together. Or if this is like already there was like shaky ground, not reliable relationship, some things are not spoken, or there are already problems, those relationships will get destroyed, and marriages too. It doesn't matter, if you're in a relationship or marriage. So all these things might get destroyed if they're built on a not, let's say, fair basis. So these things might be happening. 10th house is a very sensitive point of our chart. So my dear cancers, next 3 years will be important. And always check your moon sign. For Cancer, moon sign is always important, my dears. Now, you might want to listen to the next sign, because next sign represents what was going on in your life for the past 3 years, my dear cancers. Leos, for you guys, it's a 9th house. Now, Saturn transiting your 9th house for the next 3 years, it's all about higher mind. It's also about universities, like long and hard. Now, if you've been planning to study to get into university, you should just remember that next 3 years, that won't be easy study. You will need to put some effort, long hours, hard work, and no luck in exams. So you will need to get ready with exams. Definitely don't rely on some sort of luck or some help there if you want to graduate well. Also, because it's ninth house is about education, you might start teaching, for example, teaching, lecturing, becoming professor, or maybe printing a book, like writing. Also, printing is the ninth house. You might print a book or article or some research work. But again, because Saturn takes time and hard work, that your piece of masterpiece might need edit. Let's say you might be doing a lot of edits, might be rewriting some parts, giving second thoughts. All these things might be going on and off for the next 3 years, not because it's bad, just because it needs to be great with Saturn. So after that, it will get published, let's say, for better results. Now, ninth house is about travels as well. And here, because Saturn is limiting planet, like making it smaller or less accessible, like say inaccessible, restrictive, limited, maybe because you don't have time, maybe it's because you will have a lot of work, you will not have a lot of time to travel. Especially Saturn rules your house of work in your natal chart, sixth house. You might get so busy and caught up in work next 3 years that there won't be any time to travel, or because of some circumstances. Let's say you get a baby, you got a baby now you're sitting home and you need to take care of that baby, like responsibility, right? Saturn is responsibility. Or maybe it's because of your health situation, like you're going through some healing sessions that will require time and that require you to stay in that city, in your home, so you are not able to move. Or because you got like responsibility over someone, like your parents or your pet, for example. Any type of, some like could be many different reasons, but for one or another reason you might uh, there might be limited travel options, let's say. And if you travel, it might be most likely because of work, like because you're working and your work is sending you to business trips. If you are traveling like quite a lot, and then it might be only because of some like responsibilities at work, could be. Now, legal cases, ninth house is about lawsuits. Again, if you're going to start in a lawsuit or if you're already involved, now with Saturn, it will take time and also some hurdles, some difficulties might be there present because Saturn is about difficulties. Better actually not to have any lawsuit during next like 3 years. It might take time to reach the conclusion, and in general it might be necessary some paperwork. A lot of things might be going wrong with that lawsuit. And Saturn also represents more like slow motion of everything. It slows down. So even in education, or maybe you are busy with some documents, ninth house is about legal processes. Like, example, you are relocating somewhere and you've been hoping to relocate and you've been gathering some documents like for visa or for citizenship, but then it might take you as long as 3 years to accomplish all those things, and some pause might be happening. And in education, it's a common situation when you take a break, like a year, leap year, for example, gap year, sorry, in your studies during Saturn transiting your ninth house. For one or another reason, like you are pausing your studies and I don't know, you're gonna finish it later, for example. Now, my dear Leos, the ninth house is also house of second marriage, and here you might get married second time if that is your situation. You might want to listen what I'm gonna say to the next sign, because you might relate to those things, what was going on in your life for the past 3 years, because that is gonna happen now to the next sign. My dear Virgos, for you guys, it's eighth house. Now, eighth house is all about finances, and Saturn here will teach you how to navigate those finances, how to learn to count money. Now, discipline. This will be the key word for you for the next 3 years with Saturn in your money house, my dear Virgos. And you are not a spontaneous shoppers as well. You are more meticulous, more well thought, but still Saturn will test you here, especially if you get a loan to anything like for a business or for a house or whatever. That loan needs to be paid and on time, and like with this sort of schedule with all these things. Like, better not to miss any payment during next 3 years with Saturn. Saturn is a no joke planet. It loves discipline. So you will need to be disciplined, if you are to take the loan and to be determined to pay it, let's say. Now, investments only will be, let's say, are like long term are better. And better not to hope that you will get fast sort of money here, fast return if you are in investment area, and to invest into long term gains, let's say. Don't risk. There are no quick money with Saturn, my dear Virgos. Now, if you're in a divorce process, because eighth house is about shared resources with your husband or with your wife or with your ex-husband and with your ex-wife. So this dividing property, it will be hard. That lawsuit might take up some time and might be very harsh one, let's say. So that's why not even recommended actually to get divorced even. With Saturn in eighth house, you might lose actually in that divorce process. And the same with business, business partners. It will be much, even if you find a business partner, that business partner will be sort of someone who Saturn quality embodied, like who is experienced, who is hard to deal with, who is more conservative way or no way, not innovative person, let's say, not more on the innovative side, more on a trials, the test and trials kind of person, and very wise, which is plus, which is serious and well-intentioned, this kind of, business partner. But again, better not to put money with someone new. There is a huge risk to uh, lose that money. And of course, not to waste money. Like, try not to spend during Saturn in your eighth house. Is better to save money, to accumulate money. Saturn loves these kind of things, and have some system, sort of structure, like those people who have like let's say accountants, or some people who are helping them to count their ins and outs, like financial ins and outs. So these kind of things will be beneficial to incorporate in your life during Saturn in your eighth house. Also, Saturn, eighth house is about crisis, like surgeries, I don't know, accidents, like critical situations. But here, Saturn is very great because it will be helping you. It will be sort of your guardian angel, will try to save you from those kind of situations. Eighth house is also all other people's money, like inheritance. You might, that inheritance, you might receive it, but then it will take time to get that inheritance, or maybe some paperwork, one or another reason. Eighth house is also about scholarships, again, alimony, funding. Again, those things will be hard to get, but you will get it. But just so you know that they will take time. And in case of scholarship, better to do everything more transparent way, fair way, let's say fair play, fair money. Like, because if you will be cheating on exams, there's a high degree that you're going to lose your scholarship because you got a bad, for example, score, or something might be going on there. Now, about conception, eighth house is about conception, conceiving the baby. Like, there could be a whole journey. Saturn is not a planet of no, there will not be any babies. Like, it's just limited, meaning you will need to go through some journey, maybe some healing journey, or like IVF or in vitro or whatever is that. Like, could be, it might take time if that's your situation. And for some of you guys, it might give already responsibility, like becoming pregnant, because Saturn is about responsibility. Eighth house is about conception. So you might get pregnant, you might be getting ready to become parents, let's say. Eighth house is sexual life. It's an intimacy house. And here, again, Saturn is about limited things. Whatever it touches makes it smaller and limited, and your sexual life might get transformed, or you might feel yourself a bit pulled out, like in, let's say, more. I mean, there will be limited sexual life, could be, and in general, especially in men, there could be lower desire, let's say, be involved in a sexual relationship, let's say. Now, you might want to listen what I'm going to say to the next sign, because that was your reality for the past 3 years while Saturn was in Pisces. Libras, my dear Libras, for you guys, it's your 7th house. Now, one of the most important houses is directly across the sky to you. So it's right in front of you. Saturn will be transiting in opposition to your sun. It's very important time period. Now, 7th house is all about relationships, how we build relationship with other people. Doesn't matter in marriage, in business, or wherever is that, it's all the relationships that we have in our life. Now, Saturn is a cement, as I said. It loves concrete. It loves sort of, safe and healthy bases, like no cement, no future, meaning and in marriage and in business. So the 7th house is about married couples. It's not about those who are dating, my dear Libras. Those who are like in a marriage, in a long-term relationship, who are living together, your relationship will get scrutinized by Saturn. So this next 3 years will be make it or break it time for you guys. Either you're going to keep this marriage and keep it going. It won't be easy. It will be hard because Saturn will be opposing your sun. And your one and only, your sweetheart, might embody someone who is Saturnian. Like, hard to deal with, very serious, very conservative, by the rule, by the book sort of person. Or if they never been this way, they might become this way. And it will be much harder to deal with, in the relationship. So you might need to exercise your natural Libran diplomacy to navigate your marriage next, like 3 years, my dear Libras, with Saturn there. It's not easy. And because of that, a lot of you guys, some of you guys might decide to divorce, and some of you guys might fight until the end. Now, Saturn won't destroy all the relationships. It will destroy only those that are shaky. Already some friction is there. So if your marriage is already a long time ago, let's say, have died, it's been already over, this next 3 years will be just formality to get divorced, for example. Or if your marriage sweet and sugar and stable and healthy and strong bond, it will make it even more stronger. Saturn will help it, will make it more flourish, more, will add up more this glue, sort of cement, for the next, 30 years. So, and plus a lot of Libras might get married, especially if you're in a long-term relationship. And if you are marrying during next 3 years, it's for the long time. Because, when Saturn in 7th house and we are getting married, it's about already those partners who are wise, who know what they want, who know how to be in a relationship, the essence of the marriage and all the stuff. So Saturn will help you to solidify it, sort of big fat stamp from universe. So it's about strong bond, strong marriage might happen if you are getting married during this Saturn in your 7th house, my dear Libras. So but if vice versa is happening, like either make it or break it, and your long-term relationship is ending because, let's say, you've decided not to take up to the marriage, don't be disappointed. Let it go. Move on. That's because Saturn is making space, means that it's making space to new person, to better person, to your better half. There is another person coming, already knocking on your door. It's just too much full, that area of your life, that person cannot come in, so try to be on the positive side. Now, if this relationship is about business, the same approach, my dear Libras. Shaky business partners, business relationships with your boss, with your company, with your employer, whoever is that, will get destroyed. Something new is coming. But if those relationships are on a solid basis, on a healthy, fruitful basis, it will flourish. Saturn will not destroy them, my dear Libras. Now, it's a crucial decisions. 3 years of crucial decisions. Yes or no kind of moment might come. Either you taking that relationship further, either no. Like either you're getting married or not, because Saturn is about legal things. It's about no joke planet. and long-term marriage is a strong one. Plus, Saturn naturally rules your house of family, building the family. So for in the next 3 years, a lot of Libras might create own little families. Now, in general, like Saturn in seventh house, it's about, you know, Saturn will be showing you through those situations through relationships, your own value, how you treat yourself, how you love yourself. So pay attention to that. And you might want to listen what I'm going to say, what I have to say for the next sign, because that was your reality pretty much for the past 3 years while Saturn was transiting your Pisces house. Scorpios, my dear Scorpios, it's your sixth house of work. Now, my dear Scorpios, next 3 years, work, hard work, and a lot of work. How many times I said work? That was some of you guys, my dear Scorpios, might get caught up in a lot of work. It might be amazing time, fruitful time. Saturn builds your stamina. I mean, you are, my dear Scorpios, you have a great stamina even without Saturn, but here Saturn will test it, will make you even more stronger through work. You might get a lot of assignments, a lot of responsibility. Saturn is about responsibility. It's about taking responsibility. So your reputation at work might rise. Now, it might be quite a lot of like fruitful time. Some Scorpios might change their work. Some Scorpios might rise at their work, like reputation. And some of you guys might lose your work. So it all depends on what kind of start you had in the beginning. Let's say you might completely start doing something different. Sort of wake up call might happen while Saturn will be in your sixth house. Like, I don't know, you want to do something different in your life. Sixth house is also health. And here you might get sort of low energy. Saturn, it's about effort. So take good care about your health to finish all those things on time at work. You will need to take care of your energy in order to accomplish everything, all your assignments at work, all your things according to regime, schedule. Saturn is about this regime, and it's about doing something systematically, doing something repetitive way, daily. So a lot of you guys might go back to gym, not back, but like start going to gym, and on a daily basis. Saturn will make you to pay attention to your health and well-being and how much energy you have, how you spend it, how you accumulate it, and how you sustain it and maintain it. But if that is something hard to you, now Saturn will go harsh way. It might give you some problems with your health, so you will have to make effort to incorporate sport into your life on a daily basis. No planet will do things for us. We will have to do all those things. And especially with Saturn, effort is all ours. And Saturn it might reward us for that. And it usually shows us what is leaking, where is the problem, what is not working. So you might want to, change and rearrange things, or you might start like incorporating some healthy habits into your daily life. I don't know if you've never done before, like for example, I know some people who never eat vegetables, and because of that, Saturn might, for example, show you some problems that are accumulated for all those years without vegetables in your body, for example, and you might start eating vegetables even though you don't like it, but that will be the only solution. So, this is just one example, but it all depends on your situation, right? Now, conflicts. Saturn rules conflicts, and it's in your work house. It might be conflicts with your colleagues. But just one thing to remember, it all will pass. It's just temporarily. So, try not to hold any grudges. Especially you, my dear Scorpios. Try not to sting back, try not to have a revenge or something. It all pass, because, there is a big possibility you might have some conflict with colleagues. And also Saturn, when it comes to health, by the way, it rules calcium. So your teeth, your bones, all here too. You might all of a sudden start checking up those things. And It might take time, like all 3 years, to heal those things. Especially, you might start having back pain. Saturn is about back, and because your bones will be, let's say, crushing and hurting, or your teeth also will need your attention, my dear Scorpios. Some repetitive movements, I said, will be required from you to see improvements. No quick fixes will be achieved here. So some you will need to have some limits there. No extreme diets, but for example, now, sixth house is also how we, it's our eating habits, a daily routine. So a lot of you guys might start sort of this kind of schedule, like when to eat, what to eat, this kind of things, like dieting. But with Saturn there, very important thing, not to overdo things. Saturn might make you do those things, but try to have some limits. Try to be within a normal limit, let's say, not to go extreme. Also, it's about responsibilities, as I said. Sixth house is about pets. You might get a pet, like a dog or a cat, or because, for example, you don't have time, you won't have time because you're taking care of someone else's pet or someone else's dog. This might be happening. Now, Saturn naturally rules your house of, neighbors, siblings. You might take up some responsibility over them as well, because maybe your sibling lost a job, or something is happening in their life. And it might be something serious happening in your siblings' life, like your brother or sister getting married or becoming parents, and sort of they will need to sort of require your help. You will need to help them out with something. There is a huge possibility. Now, also, what else I would like to say? Sixth house is about overcoming problems, like daily problems, solving issues. It's a hardship house. It's a house of debts. It's amazing time to give back some money that you owe, for example. And in general, it's about daily solving some problems, routine issues, these kind of things. So Saturn will teach you here how to do that, my dear Scorpios, how to have stamina for that, for boring stuff, let's say. You might want to listen what I have to say for the next sign, because that was your reality for the past 3 years while Saturn was in Pisces, my dear Scorpios. Sagittarius, this is your fifth house, the most joyous house in our horoscope. Now, children. Fifth house is about children, responsibilities. Here, there might be several scenarios. Some of you guys might become parents. Like Saturn is about responsibilities, like taking up on your shoulders some responsibilities. So you might become parents. So it's a completely different reality, right? It's a huge responsibility. It changes us completely, irrevocably, let's say. So some of you guys, a lot of you guys might become parents and will change reality. Another scenario that your kids, if you have them, they will have some sort of big events in their life going on, like they are moving out for some studies, or they're going to some studies, or they are getting married, or they are becoming parents. For example, you might have some big changes in your kid's life. And another scenario might be that, for example, you want a kid, but your partner don't want a kid, or vice versa. Your partner wants a kid and you don't want a kid. So this will be some sort of topic to navigate for the next 3 years, to agree on, something. Saturn will give you quite a lot of big lesson there between you and your partner, related to having kids in general, some sort of limitations. Now, another thing, it might be about conception journey, especially if this was your topic, like getting babies through non-traditional ways and even traditional ways, like, I don't know, IVF, adoption, in vitro, all these things. Saturn doesn't say no. It just limits for time being. So effort, needed there. So you might embark on some sort of conception journey, like healing. Maybe you will need to take some supplements, or first take care of your health so that you are safely getting pregnant. Some sort of journey might start during, when Saturn moves into your fifth house, my dear Sag, because it will be doing trine to your sign, the most amazing aspect. So there is a possibility. You will just need some patience, work, and time. So that's the only thing. Fifth house is a house of joy, as I said. So, but Saturn, it's a planet of limits. It's Whatever it touches makes it smaller, restrictive. So it might be less joy in your life, sort of limited for many reasons. Like you might get busy, like with your kids, or you might get busy with your work, or it will be less time to hang out with friends. It will be less time to, as a Sagittarius, it's very hard for you to believe probably when you listen to this because you are, as a Sag, you are all outgoing and all about friends and friendships and events and social activities. But for the next 3 years, believe it or not, Saturn might limit those things for one or another reason, depending on you or not on you, like external circumstances, doesn't matter. Seems like those things will be less in your life, like gatherings, I don't know, social events, sort of becomes shrinked. Love triangles. Fifth house is about true love now, and also love triangles, and those things will get destroyed. My dear Sagittarius, if you find yourself in this situation, don't be sad. Universe is trying to make space in your life for better person, for better circumstances, for that's why those triangles will get destroyed because they are on a shaky basis. Of course, relationships that are built on shaky basis will get destroyed. Or another situation could be that you met a guy, and that guy, for example, or a woman, let's say, or a girl, because my horoscopes are for men and for women. Like, for example, that person is married. And all those 3 years while Saturn will be in your fifth house, you will have the relationship with that person and will be always hoping that he or she will get divorced and marry you, for example. But it will never happen. So by the end of this journey, Saturn will let you know, it will teach you a lesson that, this is never a good situation. And this kind of things usually never happen. And you will learn your lesson. So no, there could be no result relationship too. So take good care not to get involved in this kind of relationship. Or there, for example, in terms of relationship, like love, there could be another scenario. For example, there is like a distance between you and your partner. Like you might, for example, your partner is sent to somewhere else, to some other country to work. Like a work contract is for 3 years. While Saturn will be there, you will have distance. You will have limited possibility to see each other, like once or 2 times per year, for example. It could be a possibility. And in general, Saturn is about coldness. It's about ice. So there might be for the next 3 years some cold and icy situation between you and the person that you're dating, that you're in a relationship. Now, this is all about those relationships that are not long yet, my dear Sag. Those of you who are like married, this is not about you. That's a totally different part of a chart. So your marriage is protected. Now, your hobbies, fifth house is about hobbies and talents, might become your main job. You will have, Saturn solidifies things. It brings sober, perspective. It brings responsibility. So you might take up responsibility for owning that hobby, let's say talent, and exhibit it and make it your main job. This is amazing opportunity for you to do so if you have such a wish and desire. But let me tell you, focus on one thing, no expansion, especially in business. Fifth house is about business too. Especially those of you who are business owners, listen up. Better to have one store and focus that in that store and like to make it more successful rather than opening second and third and then go bankrupt, lose more money, all these things, Saturn is about that in fifth house. So Saturn it's about focus. It's about concentrated intention to one narrow thing. So remember to focus on one thing rather than expanding. Better that. Now, Saturn is a wise partner. In general, this, fifth house is about love, as I said. So whoever you meet during next 2 years will be more wiser or even elder, like by age or by character, like by personality. Even if it's not by age, but then like someone who knows life, someone who is serious and wise. Or it could be boss, sort of employee relationship. You might get involved in this kind of relationship too. You might want to listen what I have to say for the next time, because that was your reality for the past 3 years, my dear Sag. And stay positive. Now, Capricorns, for you guys, it's going to be fourth house. Now, Saturn is your ruler. It's moving into your fourth house, one of the sensitive, one of the important houses in our natal chart. It's about family. It's about building. Now, Saturn rules buildings. It rules concrete systems, blocks. So some of you guys might start building a house or renovating a house, or maybe, buying a piece of land where you're going to build some structure, not necessarily house, maybe for business, maybe some building, some blocks, or even some purchases like buying a house or selling a house. Now, buying will be much better because it will stay for a long time with you if it's about property, because fourth house is about property. But, with Saturn there, it will be hard to sell. If you're selling something like a house or some property, it will be harder to sell. Plus, you might sell it for a lower price than you wanted, because Saturn, anyhow, it's about restriction, limitation, this kind of thing. Now, it's about home. Fourth house is about home, and for example, you will start, I don't know, fixing something, or you wanted to renovate your one room, but you're going to end up renovating whole house, in the next 3 years, because with Saturn, it's usually like that. You will find out things that you will need to do more with that thing, with the renovation, for example, or with building, that you will need to change entire system, for example, in your house. Opening business. It could be opening business. Now, Saturn rules your, it's your ruler, your ruling planet. And as your character, as you know, there is no easy gains. There are no easy gains. There you will need to put hard work. Now, opening business from home. It could be long hours and it will be hard. So you remember, because fourth house is about home. You might start like staying long hours home and working from home. For example, if you've been before going to corporate job, let's say, working from office, it might be the time that in the next 3 years you're going to switch working from home for one or another reason. For example, you got a baby, now you're staying home. And you, as a Capricorn, as a career-oriented, reputation-oriented, achievements-oriented sign, you wouldn't want to stay just, with the baby home. You want to evolve. You might want to, open up your business and start working from home. For example, could be many reasons, or maybe your company now going to operate completely online, like work from home mode kind of thing, even though it's a luxury nowadays. Now, it's responsibility, like taking responsibility, like maybe you will start your own business, small business from your home. So you remember, as I said, it will require from you effort and long hours and heart to build that business. Responsibility, Saturn. Saturn is about responsibility. You might take some responsibility over your parents, especially your mother. Like fourth house is about mother and parents. Maybe you will bring them to where you live. So they're going to stay with you for possibly 3 years, my dear Capricorns, like helping them, or maybe taking them to hospital. Like there might be some period, like start of some period, that you will need to take care of your parents, especially your mother, for example, or like take care of your grannies. If it's not parents, also fourth house. Now, also like family, the fourth house is about family. So there could be some big changes in your family, to your family members, like your brothers, your father, your mother. It could be that they are having bigger changes in their life, like getting married, having a baby, or you are building your own family, like of your own, like home, let's say. Fourth house is also relocation, like getting the visas, documents done, like citizenship, where we call home. So there might be several like scenarios in the next 3 years. You might require, like, it will need you hard work and, let's say, paperwork to get that relocation paper done, to get that citizenship of your wish and dream, to get, let's say, to move somewhere that you wanted to move. Or it could be some temporary place where you will have to be living, like changing apartment, changing a house. Like if you're renting apartment, your landlord might say some news that You will need to, how to say, you will need to move out. For example, with Saturn, it's usually, from good to a bit worse, let's say, like from big to small, because Saturn makes smaller. So it seems like the place where you're gonna stay, it's a bit uncomfortable. Maybe you won't like it, or maybe it's smaller than you stayed before. Something like this, something not comfortable situation could be. But everything is temporary, my dear Capricorns. Remember that. And the change of family member, like number of family members. Maybe someone is moving out, someone going to studies, like someone leaving, like getting married, or maybe they are relocating somewhere else, like your brothers and sisters, and they will not be staying anymore with you in the same house or in the same city. This kind of things might be going on for you guys, my dear Capricorns. In generally, fourth house is very, sensitive, and it could be how to say, event packed 3 years. Now you might want to listen what I'm going to say to the next sign, because that was your reality for the past 3 years while Saturn was transiting your transiting Pisces, my dear Capricorns. Aquarius, this is your third house. Now third house, Saturn in third house is about siblings. Third house rules our siblings, neighbors, and relatives. Now there could be situations some of you guys might let's say limit talks. Now Saturn, whatever it touch makes it smaller, makes it limited. So it might lessen communication with your siblings. You might lose contact, let's say, or there might be conflict with your brother or sister, and you might stop talking for the next 3 years, for example, or less communication there for one or another reason. For example, your brother or sister moved somewhere because of studies, or because they got married, like, or because of work, or to a completely different country, and that's why it's more and more less communication with them, or less common topics to have with. For example, even if there is a conflict, it will all pass. This is what you remember. Just give it time. With Saturn, it could be a little bit cold, distance, icy kind of relationship, because Saturn rules distance and ice. Or maybe no time, like you get busy, or your siblings are so busy at work that there is no time to, connect or even catch up sometimes. And it could be quite, for 3 years, like continuing this, quite continuous, this situation. Now, third house is also languages, learning new skills. You might start learning language. Now, if that is your situation, it's a good. And so you remember, it won't be easy. It will take from you efforts and hours and repetitive actions. To learn language, we always need repetitive action. And with Saturn, even more. But let me tell you, that language and that skill will stay with you for a long time. You will remember it. That will be something that you will be proud of, that you learned. So, if you're starting learning language, starting learning courses, or maybe driving courses, it's a good, but it will take some time, my dear Aquarius, while this Saturn transiting your third house. Maybe because you moved to some other country, you will need to learn language, or maybe you move to a country where only, let's say, private cars are driven and no public transport is accessible. That's why you will need to learn how to drive a car, for example. But it will be beneficial at the end. Transportation. Now, purchase or sell. Again, if you're selling your transport, it will be a bit harder to sell. So summer, for you guys, it will not be easy to sell it. Better when Saturn will move back to Pisces, after 1st September. Then you will have better luck until next year, Valentine's Day, to sell your car at the price that you want. But before, I advise you to sell it before Saturn permanently moves into your Aries for the next 3 years. Now, by the end of May, it's already moving. So you might, if you're selling it in summer, you might have some difficulties. And in general, you might sell it for the less price that you wanted to sell. If you're buying it, that's more better. That's more good investment. And seems like that car will serve you good and long. Mind. Third house is about mind, what we think, what we write. Seems like your mind, Saturn will make your mind to structure everything, what's going on around you. to sort of make systems there, to process it logically somehow. Try to make some structures. You will all the time to will try to do so. And in general, it's about serious topics. Saturn is about serious topics and talks. You will start and you will want to only talk about serious things, not anymore some shallow sort of conversations. Writing a book, third house is about writing skills too. Now it will take time. You might need to re-edit it many times, or not because it's bad, just because it needs to be perfected. Let's say it needs to be the best, so you will hit the number one on a bookshelves. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a book or article or research, so it might take time. Actually, all those 3 years while Saturn will be in your third house. Third house is also all things signing contracts, documents like errands, running errands. So all those things will take time. And it seems like you will be busy with those documents, especially like relocation documents or inheritance documents, or maybe health related kind of things, and contracts with the wider public, like with someone or some companies and entities who are far from you, most likely across the ocean, some foreign documents. All these things will take time. Now, changing in general of a friendship circle might happen. Third house is those close friends that we talk daily. That thing is changing. Now, those relationships that are not healthy, that are shaky, those friends will go. My dear Aquariuses, Saturn will not tolerate them. Instead, it will keep and make it stronger, the ones that are built on a strong basis, on trust, and on healthy friendship relationships. Those will stay in your life for a long time. And plus, if you meet someone who will become your close friend, that person most likely will stay for a long ride with you and will be loyal. Now, specific, and there is like chance, Saturn narrows down everything. So it seems like in the next 3 years, you will be speaking and in general interacting only with specific groups of people. It could be for many reasons, like because of your occupation, or maybe you entered a book club, or maybe you got involved in a hockey, or something might happen that you will start spending a lot of hours and a lot of time with specific group of people and just with them. So Saturn makes focus, narrows it down sort of. Now, might take responsibility also over your siblings. As I said, third house rules our siblings. It doesn't matter if you're younger, it might be the situation that you anyhow will need to take up some responsibility over your siblings, like taking care of them, or maybe they will require help from you. So in the next 3 years, maybe you will be like helping financially or emotionally. Some sort of responsibility over their life or over them will be required from you, my dear Aquariuses. Now, you might want to listen up for what I'm going to say for the next sign, because that was your reality for the past 3 years, while Saturn was transiting Pisces. Now, Pisces, my dear and lovely sweet Pisces, this is going to be your second house. Finally, Saturn is moving out from your sun, from your sign. Now, the past 3 years, it was a hard journey, a difficult one. Not only Saturn, for Saturn, it's difficult to be in Pisces, but also transiting over your sun, it was quite difficult transit to handle. But you've grown a lot, my dear Pisces. When Saturn transits over our sun, it's always shift in our personality, complete sort of destroying ourselves and rebuilding, sort of remolding new. Because Saturn is all about restructures, like buildings, blocks. So Saturn destroyed your old self, and there is no going back, my dear Pisces. With Saturn is always burning the bridges, let's say, just the past. You are not the same person as you've been before with this Saturn now coming out, from this Saturn transit in your sign. Now it will be your second house. Second house is all about money. Now will be time to, inject those lessons that Saturn gave you all about self and your priorities and plans. Now you learned how to, prioritize yourself, your true plans and wishes, who you are at core, and how people should treat you and how you treat yourself. And now, second house is about self-worth. Saturn will test you if, second house is all about how much we value ourselves. That's how much we earn money. So Saturn here will teach you that lesson. It will give you more, let's say, sense of money, how to spend it, how to earn it, what kind of skills to put. But with Saturn, it's never easy. It takes time. It takes efforts. If you're starting business with this transit, again, it will take time and most probably in solitude, most probably all alone. No need to hope for some miraculous help or turn of events. Saturn is about hard work, my dear Pisces. And if you're changing a job, a lot of you guys, after identity crisis with Saturn in your sign, now a lot of you guys changing your occupation, changing what you're doing in life, how you're earning money, seems like. And you might switch your work completely to a different one. You might start a new job, for example, but it will take time to grow at that position, at that job, at that company, and at that skill, let's say. And also, a second house is about resources of money, not only our job, but maybe some other resources, additional, like money sources that we have. Those things that are shaky, those things will get destroyed. So there won't be a situation that you will get easy money, my dear Pisces. You will need to put effort there. Plus, Saturn, as I said, it's a strict teacher, but it rewards us as well for our efforts and hard work. For those of you who've been doing something meaningful and truthful to your heart for the past 30 years, this will be time when you will get results from your work, big results, because Saturn naturally rules your house of wishes and dreams. So it seems like your wish is connected of how you earn money and what kind of skills you use to earn money as well, and your value in general, about values in life, like priorities. There might be, crisis and priorities happening. For example, for some of you guys, you might start valuing a family, or maybe completely different thing like money, or maybe your career or reputation or friendships. Something is changing there, profoundly changing. Material possessions like a house or like expensive things, also second house. And here, if you're selling those things, it's harder to sell them, and you possibly will sell them for less price that you wanted. Or if you're buying them, that's for long term. That will stay with you long and will bring you profit. But again, it's not an instant profit. It will come in long years, my dear Pisces. It will be good investment. Also, second house is about, energy, all types of resources we have, like psychological, mental, energy, and food that we consume. There might be some changes happening, how you spend your energy, how you accumulate your energy or maintain your energy. So there might be some things going on there too, my dear Pisces, for you with this Saturn in your second house. Now, in general, Saturn limits, shrinks whatever it touches. So if you say that my finances are getting less, no need to be, again, sad about that. Saturn is just pointing out that this is not the way that you're supposed to earn money. You can and you will earn much better and more money if you put effort somewhere else to your true desires, to your true value, if you start valuing your skills, my dear Pisces. Now, you might want to listen for, the sign of Aries, because that was your reality for the past 3 years while Saturn was in your sign. You might want to listen to what I've said for Aries, so if you relate to that. Now, my dears, always check your rising sign and moon sign and sun sign. All three will play out. As in my example, they're all always playing out, especially with Saturn, the strict teacher, my dears. Love you all. Bye bye.